Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my third vlog. Last session did not go too well at all, so if you haven't seen that video, I'd highly recommend you go watch that one first. I had a pretty insane run out. With this being my third vlog, things are going to continue to improve. I actually went and made my own overlay in Photoshop that you're going to see on the video today. So let me know what you guys think about that. I like how organized it is and how it keeps people, involved in the hands. So just let me know. I'm definitely willing to change things or change colors, change patterns, just whatever I need to do to make it more appeasing. Yeah, we're gonna be going back to 52 today. And I swear to God, we're gonna get our fucking money back. And today, when we get in as a 77% favorite, we're gonna hold. Okay, we're not gonna lose a damn hand as a 77% favorite all in today. But if we do, it's always possible. We'll have some good clickbait. But yeah, don't really have anything else much for y'all. So I'll see y'all inside. Let's go. And we find ourselves at the same table in the same seat as last session. Last time I was here, I was walking away empty-handed, but today we brought $1,000 to buy in with, and first hand we pick up is Ace-8 offsuit under the gun +1, under the gun limps, and I open to 15. Under the gun +2 calls, and everyone else folds. Heads up to a flop of Queen of Spades, 9 of Spades, 9 of Hearts. I see bet a third pot of $10, and he calls. Turn is a King of Spades, we check it around, and the river rolls off a deuce of diamonds. I believe I have showdown value here, so we both just check. He shows Ace-Jack off, and we show our hand. He puts the tip out there for the dealer as if he won, but not so fast, old man. It's a chop. Under the gun limps, and under the gun opens his hand up to 12 bucks. Folds around to me in the big blind as I look down at Jack-8 of diamonds and decide to call. Under the gun calls as well, and we go three-way to a flop that comes out Queen, Queen, Queen. We check it around. Turn comes out a 6 of diamonds. Now I have a flush draw on this board, which I don't care about, but I decided to just bet, just hopefully to take it down. Folds under the gun folds, and then under the gun +1, who raised pre, raises me to 40, and I consider just jamming all in right here for like 400 effective, just to assert dominance. I mean, if you're gonna check the flop, why are you gonna raise me on the turn? Get out of here. You have like ace high, but I decided to let him have it, and I fold my jack high. Also, I didn't see this until going back over the hand, but just look at this absolute train wreck of a chip exchange. Like, what the fuck was that? Look, this guy had $15 worth of blue chips in his right hand, and then he was reaching over this guy, and the other guy's handing him like 15 bucks in reds, and he's trying to pick it up with this hand, and then this hand comes over, and the other guy thinks he's got it, and so he drops it and just goes everywhere. Like, the fuck was that? Oh no, I just thought that was hilarious. I go to get a Vietnamese coffee, which is essentially crack, and first hand I see after I sit back down is Ace-King offsuit in the hijack. There's a button straddle and 2 calls. I up the price submission at $30, and the button calls, small blind calls, the big blind calls, the dealer calls, the floor manager calls, and a couple players at another table heard the action and decided to call as well. Just kidding. We're only 4 ways to a flop of King of Diamonds, 7 of Spades, Deuce of Diamonds. 2 checks to me, and I size up here to $80, charging any flush draw or any King X hand that will have to defend at least one street. But everyone folds and we scoop a sizable pot.
Way to go. If someone wants to chop, I'm saying.
Everyone seems to be straddling at the table, so I decided to be a cool kid and straddle on the button as well. We look down at pocket 10s, and there's 4 limps to the cutoff, who raises up to 25. And this player specifically is a very, very tight passive player, so for him to raise over 4 limps after a straddle seems very strong to me, but I feel it'd be a mistake to not 3-bet in this spot, so I raise it up to 65, and I would normally go larger in this spot, hence the pocket tens hand from last session. The same spot, same seat, same table. But the cutoff only has 330 behind after the raise, and I don't want to be priced in to make a call when I know I'm behind post flop. All I'm trying to do right here is isolate, and I don't think I can choose a reasonable sizing that will make him fold. So, if I know I'm getting a call from him and will have to play post flop, I want to just have control of the hand but not bloat the pot too much. It folds back around to the cutoff, who just calls, or heads up to a flop of ace of spades, queen of diamonds, queen of clubs, and he checked in the dark. This is something you see a lot from players, I wouldn't say that don't really know how to play, but kind of like this is their way of being trappy, or this is their way of, being different, or like, changing their frequencies or whatever. But I don't take the bait, and this is a terrible board for my exact hand, but not my range. I would almost always c-bet this board after 3-betting pre with a third pot sizing. But like I said, against this player, I can almost guarantee I am not winning this hand. So I check it back. Turn is another queen, and he leads for 30 into 155. And yes, I understand I'm getting amazing pot odds, but I beat quite literally nothing. And he's a short stack, so this is essentially his way of getting max value. So I show my buddy the unfortunate run out, and I fold my full house. So I have a pretty playable hand right here, King Jack off, but the guy that I just faced against in the pocket tens hand opened this up to 15, and I happened to catch an eye on him whenever he was looking at his cards, and I saw a slight quiver in his face like this, like almost like he was trying to push the smile down, and I didn't want to just flat here. I didn't want to 3-bet him. I really don't want to get another pot against him. The pocket tens hand was a hand I kind of just like. There was so much money in the pot. I was in position on the button after a straddle. Like, I had a 3-bet. But right here, I'm like, I don't even want to play against this guy. That quiver scared me, and so I folded. It folded all the way around. And my buddy, before the guy showed his hand, he goes, "Show the aces." And he, sure enough, turns over aces. It was hilarious. We're on the button again for this one. Under the gun straddled, and there's one limp to me as I look down at 6-8 of spades, and I raise it up to 20. In a straddle heavy game, there's a lot more of an incentive to push your positional advantage, and with the suited one gapper on the button, this is a perfect spot to do just that. The straddler calls, and so does the limper. We go 3-way to a flop that comes out king of clubs, deuce of spades, 3 of hearts. Both players check to me, and I've lowered my c-bet frequency a lot in live low stakes, and I'd rather c-bet boards that I have a little bit more backdoor equity that I can barrel certain turns on. Yes, a king is in my range, but this is a textbook example of a dry board, and if I c-bet and get a call, it will more than likely be from an already made hand, and I won't have a plan for future streets, so I elect to just check it back. Turn rolls off an ace of spades, and both players check to me. Now, with a flush draw and the perfect card for me to represent, I bet $30, and both players fold.
Keep them sharp. And in general, from a different oh, he's a different breed of cat, too. Well, you don't know what they're going to be good at. One to zip.
Next hand we pick up is pocket nines in the big blind. Under the gun plus 2 raises to 15. Low jack calls and folds around to me as I 3-bet to 55. The original raiser calls and the low jack folds. Heads up to an absolute abomination of a flop of king of diamonds, queen of clubs, jack of diamonds. 3 overs to my pocket nines, and this guy isn't going to fold a pair, so I just check. He bets 100, and I have to fold. I show nines, so he sees how disgusting this board was for me, and he shows me king queen. So, good fold, I guess. So in this session, I was trying to record a decent amount of hands that I fold, just so you guys can get an idea of, the time in between the hands that I actually play. And I was doing that for the beginning of the session, but at this point in the session, my phone was getting pretty low. And like I said in the last video, the charging port on my phone is pretty finicky. And I didn't want my phone to die and not be able to record hands that I actually do play. So from here on out, you'll only see hands that I actually do play. We're under the gun +2 for this one, as we look down at King Queen offsuit. There's an under the gun straddle, under the gun +1 calls it, and we raise it up to 25. The cutoff and the under the gun +1 both call. Three-way to a flop that comes out ace 8-3 rainbow. Under the gun +1 checks, and I start to count out a healthy c-bet, but the cutoff thought I checked, and he bets 40 out of turn, making it pretty easy on both of us, and we fold. We look down at good old pocket aces in the hijack. There's a button straddle, and the small blind and big blind both call. I raise it up to 25, and looking back, I'm not sure why I chose this sizing. Normally I'd go 30 to 35 here with any hand I raise after a couple limps from a straddle, but nonetheless, button, small blind, and big blind all call. Four-way to a flop of 5-5-9 2 spades. Checks to me, and I bet a third pot of 35, and only the small blind calls. Turn rolls off a 9, and he checks, and now I just want to get the showdown, so I check it back. River's an offsuit deuce, and he leads for 60. I don't even think, I just put out the annoyed call, and of course he shows me 7-9 offsuit. You know, I mean, this is a spot where I beat only bluffs, and there was a missed flush draw from the flop, and that combined with the entitlement of aces, I ended up making just a shitty call. We look down at 6-8 suited again, this time clubs. We're in the hijack, and there's an under the gun straddle. Folds to me, and I open to 20. My buddy Brian, who's directly to my left, 3-bets to 55, and it folds to me. He's pretty ABC pre-flop, so I know his range here. We both started playing poker together, so we understand each other's game pretty well. Plus, he's been itching to get a hand together, so I tickle his fancy and call with the hopes of outplaying him post-flop. Unfortunately, the flop comes out King Queen 7 rainbow, smashing his range, and I have 0 equity, so I check fold to his $80 c-bet. Our stack is now down to $770 as we see 6-8 of clubs again. I keep getting this hand, so I decided to just keep riding with it. We're under the gun +1, and I open to 20. I get 3 callers, and we go 4-way to a flop of 4-4-8. Bingo! We finally hit a flop with this goddamn hand. I c-bet 35, and I get 1 caller. Turn is a king of diamonds, we both check. River is a 9 of clubs, and it goes check check. He shows pocket 7s, and we show him the goods, and we take it down. So this hand is probably my favorite hand of the session. Not the cards I have, which are ace-jack offsuit, but just a sequence of events here. Let's get started. We're in the hijack, and under the gun +2 raises to 21. Low jack calls, and I 3-bet here at a high frequency with this hand, but I decided to just flat, and let me explain why. So the player in under the gun +2 is the type of player I love to have at my table. He's a middle-aged man that is dressed pretty flashy, and you can tell he's looking to make plays. Not everyone plays poker for the same reasons. Some people do it because they're addicted, some do it because they're trying to maximize EV, and some also do it for the rush. This type of player is one that I classify as trying to do it for the rush. And when you combine that playstyle with a tight, aggressive one such as mine, you see a lot of crazy stuff happen. Now, I would love to 3-bet him here, but I need to be very selective in the hands I choose to battle against this type of spewy player because he'll put me in very shitty spots. So the types of hands, other than the top of my range hands like ace-queen suited and up and middling to high pocket pairs, that I don't want to 3-bet with would be suited connectors, suited gappers, low pairs, etc. that are all pretty easy to play post. And the reason they're easy to play post flop is that if I do connect with these types of hands, I will know when I'm ahead and when I have air. Essentially, I won't be putting in money just guessing whether or not my kicker or high card is good. Ace-jack offsuit just plays terrible post flop because if the board is ace high, these type of players will just relentlessly bomb it, and I will either be having to make hero calls with top pair or get very minimal value from worse hands. I can't really capture everything I'm trying to portray about this situation and this type of player, so just bear with me here. But like I said, I just flatted because although everything I said still holds true, I am in position against this guy with a decent hand. Everyone folds, and we go 3 away to a flop of Jack 4-4. The original aggressor decides to check here, which really confused me because I already mentally classified him as a spewy, crazy player, and he raised preflop. And now there's a decent sized pot, and it's a paired board, and he decides not to see bet. But low jack checks as well, and I decide to obviously bet here, and I land on a sizing of $35, and this is when things get very interesting. He ends up check raising me to 115. Low jack folds, and while from an outside perspective this looks very strong, to me this just looks like a typical live exploit of these types of players. I can't even think of a single hand that would take this line. I can't even think of a time that I've seen the original aggressor check raise a paired board. I mean, you might be thinking that he could be on a flush draw, which you see check raises pretty often with, but that's so that they can get the betting lead and not just call and miss a flush draw. He already had the betting lead. So why in the hell would he make it more expensive to chase his flush draw? So when I see anomalies like this that really polarize ranges, I make overfolds and overcalls to counter them. But what really factors into my decisions in these types of spots is the type of player I'm against. If I'm against, say, Old Man Coffee, and he takes this line, I'm snap folding because it's either jacks, full, or quads. But against this crazy type of player, it can and will literally be anything. To him, this is his rush. This is his way of making plays. So I decide to call and see what develops. And he checks in the dark on the turn, which is just fucking hysterical because now I know this dude is quite literally just clicking fucking buttons. Remember what I said earlier about players checking dark as a way to be sneaky or trappy? Here you are. His line makes absolutely zero sense. Anyways, the turn is the king of spades, and I check it back. River is an offsuit 7, and he leads here for $60. Now, when we arrive at the river against this type of player, after crazy actions like what has occurred, I'd expect a polarizing bet or a check. So when he bets 60 here, I know I'm just somehow beat because he's only using this bet size on the river strictly as value. But at this point, I genuinely don't care about the $60. I need to see what he has. So I call and he shows King Queen offsuit. Just let that sink in. When I say these are the types of players I destroy, I mean it. They take such outrageous, highly volatile lines that, yes, obviously sometimes they do pay off. But in the long run, when he continues to take lines like this, he's going to lose money. But the gig is, it's not about the money for these types of players. It's about the thrill. It's about mixing it up and being known as a crazy player. You know, I mean, understanding GTO and basic strategy in poker gives you a baseline for how to play, but you need to be able to deviate and adapt accordingly to the environment and players. This hand? It's a prime example of chaos theory, and it just goes to show that there is a lot of expected value in exploiting these types of players. We pick up the ducks in this big blind here. My friend Brian is under the gun and straddled. Small blind calls, and I raise it up to 25. Brian says, I was going to check it, as he 3-bets me to 65. This is the same exact sizing he chose last time, and like I said, he has pretty ABC pre-flop. So having a low pocket pair here will be pretty easy to play post. Fold to certain high cards or just nail a set and get paid. I call a 3-bet, and we go heads up to a flop of 8 of spades, 5 of spades, 4 of diamonds. I check and he checks it back. Turn is a 6 of hearts, and after he checks back this flop, I can almost exactly pin him on 2 overs. So I ask him when he 3-bet me to pre-flop because I forgot. He tells me 65, so that's what I lead here for, and he snap calls me. I'm now staring into his soul. As the river rolls off a 9 of clubs, I check and he shows ace king high. And I thank Brian for the $130 he just donated to me. We're in the cutoff for this one with queen 5 of diamonds. There's 2 limps to me, and I just got a warm feeling inside when I looked at this hand for some reason. So I share my love with the table and I raise it up to 15. Brian is on the button and calls, and under the gun calls as well. 3-way to a flop of 8 of clubs, 8 of diamonds, 7 of spades. Under the gun checks, and I c-bet 20 here. Brian calls, and under the gun folds. Turn is a 4 of diamonds. A beautiful turn card for me to double barrel on now that I have a gut shot and a flush draw. So I bet 35 here. I choose a smaller sizing because I want to name my price, and queen high is obviously behind whatever he's going to flat the flop with. But he raises to 130, and so now I know he has an 8. I only need to put in 95 to win 350, and if you do the pot odds, 95 divided by 350 times 100, you get 27%. So for this to be a plus EV call, I need to have at least 27% equity. There are 13 cards that I assume will give me the best hand, but you have to also take one away because the second card will bottom up and make my hand, which would be a disaster. So really there's 12 cards I can hit to win. 12 times 2 is 24, so I'm not quite getting the right odds, but we are also about 800 effective, so I'm able to chase my equity. Plus, I expect to get paid off if I do hit. I call, and the river does not disappoint. It's a 6 of diamonds, giving me a straight and a flush. God, I fucking love poker. Beggars can't be choosers, but I wish an offsuit 6 or any other diamond would have hit, because now basically any draw got there, so it might be hard for him to find a call, and I know he's going to check it back, but I still land on a sizing of 250. The reason I sized up here is because of our metagame that we have. I normally go for like 175 here, because like I said, basically any draw got here, it's going to be hard for him to find a call, but then I kind of thought a little bit deeper, and this would be such a good card for me to bluff on. So I decided to choose a more polarizing sizing to induce a call because he knows it'd be a good card for me to bluff on. See what I'm saying? But he tanks for a while and makes a good laydown. He later tells me he had Jack 8 of hearts, and if we run that in the calculator, you'll see I had 22% equity on the turn. So we definitely got lucky, but I was getting a good price and good implied odds. We pick up a suited connector here in the hijack, and under the gun opens to 15. Under the gun plus 2 calls, and I've been sitting at this table for about 4 hours now, and I've been watching the player in under the gun for a while, and he seems like a very solid and understanding player, but we just haven't clashed yet. We have position on him here with the type of hand that I love to battle with, so I pick a fight and I 3-bet to 65. He calls, and under the gun plus 2 calls as well. I was hoping to isolate, but under the gun is in an even worse spot now that he's out of position at 2 players after a 3-bet. We go 3-way to a flop of King of Hearts, 6 of Clubs, 9 of Spades. Both players check to me, and if I absolutely bricked this board here, I would definitely c-bet, but I do have showdown value right now, and if someone does have a king, they're going to call regardless, so I check to realize my equity, and the turn rolls off of 4 of hearts. Both players check to me again, and now I'm a lot more comfortable because I would expect a king to lead on the turn. There's a lot of potential straight and flush draws out there that will have to pay a certain price to see the river if I give them the right odds. So I take a pretty abnormal line here, and I bet 80 to 200. What I'm trying to do here is give an opportunity for all the drawing hands to keep putting more money in and chase their draws. I've already put these guys in an awkward spot, so that opens up the door for them to make a lot of mistakes on the river. If I see a card that I deem a brick and they decide to lead the river, I will snap it off with my pair. This may look kind of stupid, and I may be getting way too theoretical for live low-stakes poker, but I love coming up with different lines to exploit players. Anyways, under the gun calls, and under the gun plus 2 folds. The river comes out of 9 of clubs, and Villian leads for 120. To me, this isn't necessarily a brick card, but like I said, my plan for the turn was to force my opponent into mistakes on the river if the flush draw didn't complete or any scare card hit. So I didn't really see a lot of 9s in his range here, and he wouldn't value bet a king here, so he would have to have exactly a 9, which looking back I did open up that possibility by taking this line, but I still don't think it's a mistake because there's so many more combinations of hands that this line would work against. I call, and he shows ace 9 of hearts. You know, after looking through a lot of these hands, I'm now realizing that when I'm at the river, I'm not applying my reads of bet sizings enough. I kind of just stick to the thought processes I had before the river in these spots without adapting to the new action. So, moving forward, I'm going to be taking a lot more consideration on river action rather than mainly my reads before that. We lose a good chunk here, but these are the types of hands I love to go over and analyze. You know, if I didn't put myself in this spot, I wouldn't be learning as much as I did from it. Last hand we pick up is pocket jacks in the small blind. Under the gun limps, folds to me, and I raise it up to 20. Brian calls in the big blind, and under the gun calls as well. 3-way to a flop of deuce 10 3 2 hearts. Very good board for jacks, so I lead for 40. Brian folds, and under the gun ships it for about 130, and I snap it off. We agreed to run it twice, and first run out is deuce of diamonds, nine of diamonds, and second is king of diamonds, eight of spades. He shows 9-10 and says chop. I didn't even realize that I actually should have scooped that, but no one said anything, and I don't know how I didn't catch this, but somehow we ended up chopping. So yeah, there goes all that money that's mine. But we rack up and cash out for 940. So that was a pretty fun session for me. I spent $55 on time and food for my stack, plus I should have scooped the last hand, so I was actually supposed to be in the profit, but I log it down as negative $80. I was in some interesting spots and saw some different dynamics. The table was honestly pretty passive, and having my friend in position against me changed the dynamic I normally see at these tables. My stack got all the way down to about like 550 at one point, so we definitely battled back after a while. If I get this vlog up by tonight, I'll probably go record my next session tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, if you want to play online poker, you can join my Poker Bros Club. It's an app that you can download straight from your phone and play at any time. There's a bunch of different stakes and more than enough action, so if you're interested, check the description below for instructions on how to join, or you can message me on any of my social medias, which are down below as well. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all for this one. Hope y'all enjoy the new design, and I'll see y'all next time. Be easy.